Hello everyone, and welcome to Shell Point Today for Wednesday, June 1st. I'm Dan Philgreen. Coming up on today's show, Ruth Deuber returns with something a little different than her usual recipe. Instead, she's cooked up a tour of the lovely home of residents Dave and Margie Lee. Also, Gary Keating will give us another golfing tip on this show. But first, don't forget that if you missed the important resident hurricane seminar at the village church last week, don't worry. You can watch the replay this week on Channel 12. Tune in any day this week at either 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. to learn all about the changes, procedures, and safety tips that are important to know should a weather-related emergency arise. Again, that's every day this week at 10 a.m. and again at 2 p.m. on Shell Point TV, Channel 12. If you suffer from ongoing or chronic pain, you're not alone. 25% of Americans have experienced pain lasting for more than 24 hours. Join Dr. Alexander Martinez tomorrow in the Social Center on the island to learn how you can manage chronic pain with different options and approaches. The presentation begins at 1:15 p.m. and sign-up is required. And now it's time for What's Cooking with Ruth Deuber. But wait, we're not going to Ruth's place today. In fact, Ruth isn't even cooking on the show today. So why is it time for What's Cooking segment? Well, Ruth decided to pay a visit to her friends Dave and Margie Lee in Lucina. They have a lovely French-themed home, and they were delighted to give us the grand tour. Coming up in some future What's Cooking segments, Dave will be joining Ruth in the kitchen. Turns out he's quite a cook. But for now, here's a look at the Lees' beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ruth Deuber, and this is What's Cooking at Shell Point. Obviously, I'm not in my kitchen, but I'm at the home of Margie and David Lee. David is my upcoming new partner in cooking, so let's go in. Hi, Margie.
Welcome, Ruth. Welcome to our home.
Yes, and I brought you those.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us into your home.
Oh, we're
And
delighted.
here's David. And here's David.
Welcome, Ruth.
So we're kind of excited. We're starting something new. The show will be 10 years old in October, and it's time for a change. And so these folks are going to get me started on that. So, Margie, your home is so lovely.
Why, thank you.
Yes, and you give us a little tour.
We'd be delighted to do
Okay.
that. And you picked the right color, as you will see,
I know.
because red is one of our
I
favorite
see that.
colors.
I see that.
So maybe David would put those in water.
You can just put those in the water. Thank you.
Where would you
Okay.
like to begin?
It's up to you. We
All
start in the
right.
living room here.
Okay, and you want the whole house tour?
Sure.
Okay, let's
Okay.
go this way. One thing that you will find in the house is that we like things that are French. And this is one of our newest acquisitions. We like French posters. And this is a first edition that was printed in 1977 of a 50th anniversary issue of the poster. So this is a lot of fun. David and I like to dance, so we thought this was a lot of fun. This is a 2-bedroom unit, so the larger of the 2 rooms we've made into our bedroom. And of course, one of the favorite features is the view. We look out on the canal. One thing that people enjoy about this room is the interesting folk art sculpture above the bed. And there is a funny story to that. We found that in the Carolinas when we were vacationing there in an antique store. And I'd never seen another one like it. I don't know the age, I don't know where it came from, who manufactured it. And then when we were recently in France, we went into an antique store in France, and there was the same piece, although very rusty and not in as good a condition as that one. So that was fun to make that discovery. People always ask about the harps in our house. This is the smaller of the 2. I am a budding harpist learning to play the harp. And one of my goals is to be what is called a healing harpist. And healing harpists actually take little harps like this into places like acute care centers or skilled nursing centers and play the harp. Because research has shown that when people hear the sound of a harp, it reduces pain and it increases tranquility. So I'm a ways from that, but that's my goal with the little harp. I think the rest of it is, again, you're seeing touches of France everywhere in our home. Funny story with the little coffee pot. We purchased that in France, and we thought we got a really good deal on it. And when we brought it home and tried to use it to serve, the thing leaked like a sieve. So we got it repaired for far more money than we paid for the coffee pot. But it's a fun memory, and it's a funny little memory of our time in France. And one of my favorite scenes is when we're standing in the bedroom and Ed Thompson goes by with his sailboat. And that's just a wonderfully peaceful vision to see from your window. Okay. So here we are in the second bedroom, but we have turned it into our TV room, and this functions as my office. So this is the office space, and of course the 3 screens, because in my work having 3 computer screens is very helpful, and I do still work full time. Lots of French in here. This is Madame Chinon, and we were in France and looking through a window of girouettes, and some people have seen our boat at the dock called La Girouette. That name comes from the fact that we collect girouettes. The one picture here of our home in Alexandria, one day I was reading the Washington Post, and I opened the Post, and here was a painting showing our house. And it also showed an artist sitting in the street doing that painting. And apparently the reporter had come along, had seen the artist sitting in the street doing the painting because she was just charmed by our house. And the Post thought that was a funny little story, and they ran it. And luckily they printed the name of the artist, and I found the artist and I contacted her and I said, we'd love to have that painting. And so she happily sold it to us. So that's a wonderful memory of our time in Old Town. Well, here we are in the living room. And our living room is a little different because while most people have a couch and chairs, we have a piano and a harp, but it works for us. Interesting things in here, I think, that people enjoy. One of them is the bird bowl. This is one piece of porcelain that we got in the Quad Cities area, and the birds are not eating bird feed. That is, in fact, lavender in that bowl. The poster above the little fireplace is interesting, I think, because it is actually half of a poster. The original poster, and that is an original top half of the poster, the original poster would have been twice again as large. And this is a poster advertising a location in France where people would go for a holiday. And one of the games we play with people is to look at the woman's hand and look at the little boy and to guess what it is that she is carrying and that he is carrying. And because we found a copy of the original poster, we are able to say to people that she is carrying a sun parasol, and he is actually carrying a golf bag. So that's great fun. The fireplace beneath it came from an antique store. It is from France. The original shipping label is inside it. The glass in front of it came from a woman who sadly died a number of years ago, but she had that piece of glass. She gave it to her good friend who was a curator at the Winter Tour Museum, and that good friend then gave it to us. And when we have the candles on at night, it's really, really quite beautiful to see that lit. Let's see, what else? This is interesting over here by the door. People enjoy this. This I have to credit my husband David. When we go to France, he often goes jogging in the morning. And one day he came back from one of his jogs with the outside part of this old window. He just found it discarded in a ditch. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And then the next day he came back from his jog and he had found the interior part of this. And so we thought, wouldn't that be fun to have? We actually put this in our luggage. It's very heavy. We put it in the luggage, brought it back, And then this is an image of one of the castles that we visited in France on that particular trip. And we thought it would be great fun to put that image inside the window. And it's a wonderful memory of our trip to France. Now I'm going to show you the element that really sold us on this particular unit, and that is our screen lanai. David and I really enjoy this lanai. We're out here as much as we can be, which is quite a lot, actually. When we moved to Shell Point, we came here on one weekend. We had just heard about Shell Point. We came here on a weekend. They showed us this particular unit, and the windows had been boarded during construction. We were the first person to come in and see this unit with the coverings off the windows. And we walked out here, we looked at the view, we looked at each other and said, we need to sign up right now to get this unit, because our feeling is that if you're in Florida, why not enjoy the screened-in lanai, which we really do. So again, as you can see, very French in flavor. I love orchids. I've never grown orchids before, and so I'm learning how to do that. And it took some juggling to figure out how to fit all the furniture, but I think we did. And now, as often as we can, we use this lanai to entertain and just come out here and enjoy nature and watch the dolphins jumping out of the river. And we totally think we're blessed to be here and have such a wonderful space here at Shell Point.
With all the beautiful Florida weather these days, make sure to set your alarm clocks early so you can get out to the Shell Point Golf Course and enjoy a game during the cooler temperatures. To get started, here's Shell Point instructor Gary Keating with a tip on making that annoying bunker shot.
Hi, Gary Keating, golf professional here at Shell Point Golf Club. You just see me hit a bunker shot. I personally like the bunkers. I would sooner be in the bunker than around the rough where it's nice and tight, or get that fluffy lie. I personally feel like I've got more control coming out of the bunker. So the shot you see me just hit is basically, watch my legs. My legs don't move. I'm always trying to think about, from the hips down, we stay still. Sand wedge. We need to kind of take the sand and wedge the sand between the club face and the ball. I never ever want to hear the club actually make contact. Hip position. My hips are generally a little bit open at the address position. We want to take the club straight back, straight through. We want the sand to lift the golf ball. Once again, legs have to be very, very quiet. If we move, generally we hit the ball thin, goes over the green too far. You can see the divot I've taken right here. So what I'm thinking about in this particular bunker shot all the time is the club to go underneath the ball. Now, when I say underneath, I don't need to lift the ball. I just need to hit the ground or the sand, and you'll see the sand will get wedged between the club face and the ball and lift it up. As soon as I said underneath, a lot of people go to the assumption is we're trying to get the club underneath the ball, okay? All we need to do is think, and basically the thing that helps me the most in a bunker is the bottom of a rocking chair. You see the bottom of a rocking chair? Okay, so we need the club to imaginally slide along that bottom of that rocking chair. If we take the club and it comes through and it comes up very abruptly, generally we're going to hit it too heavy. So I like to feel like the bottom part of my golf club, as soon as it goes through the sand, it stays low, and then it reaches its apex and then comes up naturally. Most of the errors in the bunker, when it hits the sand, the club comes up vertically. So when the club comes up vertically, once again, we've got either that thin shot that goes too far, or we take too much of the sand and it comes up short of the green. So once again, I'll make a couple practice swings, and you'll see we talked a little bit about the rocking chair. I want the club to stay low and long. So I always think about, and as you can see, that club is almost like the base of that rocking chair going back and forward. So that's one of my key thoughts. The second key thought I have is the letter Y. If you notice, the top of my arms is the top of the letter Y, and we'll use the shaft as the tail of the Y. So I'll show you an error in the bunker shots, and you can see the Y is broke down. So as we come through, and you can see the Y is broke away. I think about keeping that letter Y, so we'll show you a good swing and you'll see the letter Y. So you can see the letter Y stays right throughout my entire golf swing in the bunker shot. So, letter Y or the rocking chair are both great thoughts. Just think if we could think of both of them at the same time, we'd hit really, really good shots. So, once again, I'm gonna hit a shot right here, and I'll do a bad shot, and you'll see I'm gonna break down and the letter Y will go away. So, here's a bad shot. Okay, so my letter Y is broke down, okay? Let's do a good shot. Now you notice my legs really didn't move that much, so we can have a couple of errors in the bunker shot and get away with it. If we keep the letter Y, generally what happens, the ball comes out. It doesn't come out as close as we'd like. So I like the letter Y and the rocking chair. If I can get both of them, we'll hit a golf shot and you'll see the difference. Once again, making sure I'm staying still, pulling it back with the right hand, pushing it through with the right hand. And as you can see, not a bad result. I hope this helps you. You can contact us at shellpointgolf.com. Thank you.
And now it's time to take a look at today's happenings, Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Hello and welcome to the Happening segment of Shell Point TV. I'm Caitlin Vansfoy.
And I'm Bev Chandley.
And this is Activity Sign Up Day, so make sure you head on down to sign up for all those fun activities. We start at 7:45 with men's Bible study in the Osprey Room. We move to 8 o'clock for pickleball at the game courts behind the Resident Activity Center. Also at 8, men's round-robin tennis will be held at the Woodlands tennis courts. Lilly & Company Jewelers will be here for their weekly service at 8:45 in the Resident Activity Center. And the Resident Council meeting will be held in the Social Center at 8:45. Jurassic Travel will be in the Egret Room from 9 to 12, and that'll be for all your personal traveling needs. 9 o'clock is also the time for the watercolor group with Phil Hilton in the Art Studio. And we move to 10 o'clock for ladies' Bible study in the Osprey Room. Men's match play tennis will be held at the Woodlands at 10 o'clock. And 10:15, the Model Yacht Sailing Club will be at the Woodlands Commons Lake sailing their boats. At 11:30, there's a Health Connections class, Ball Edition, Session A in the Tarpon Room. That one is currently closed. That's all I have for the morning. Here's Bev for the afternoon.
Thank you, Caitlin. At 12:45, we have a Health Connections class today, Advanced Strength and Conditioning, Session B. That's in the Tarpon Room, and it's currently full. We move on to 1 o'clock for chess. That'll be in the Library Lounge on the island. Osteo Break-Free Session A will be at 1:45 in the Tarpon Room. And at 2:30, Jazz and Stuff will be down at the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands. Head on down there for some fun music. Pilates Stretch will be in the Tarpon Room at 3 o'clock. And the singles table at the Crystal Dining Room will be available at 5 o'clock if you're interested. At 5:45, the church choir rehearsal will be at the church choir room. Prayer and Praise with Andy Hawkins will be at the Village Church at 7:15, and that wraps up our day. Well, we're sure happy to see you here today, and we will see you back here tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Wednesday, June 1st. At 1 o'clock, Intermediate Bridge begins in the game room of the Woodlands, and sign-up is required. Tomorrow we have a couple new classes I'd like to tell you about. Academy on the Go number 3, the educational field trip will take us to Florida Gulf Coast University for a campus tour. Court pickup begins at 7:15 on the island for those who sign up. We also begin the history of the United States to 1815 with Session 1, Professor Adrian Kerr.
Menus for Wednesday, June the 1st. In the Palm Grill, mussels marinara for $14.95 or hanger steak for $17.95. Specials in the Crystal, the platter is Swiss steak smothered in mushrooms with au gratin potatoes and beets. The dinner menu is a la carte. Soup minestrone. The special in the Island Cafe is a shaved ham and cheese on a hoagie roll with fries and minestrone soup. All specials are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm David Pavey. Ron Mayle, a senior pastor of the Beaverton Foursquare Church in Oregon, once told the following story. An old sea captain named Eleazar Hall lived in Bedford, Massachusetts, during the time of the great sailing ships. He was renowned, legendary, and revered as the most successful of all sea captains of the day. He worked harder, stayed out longer, and lost fewer men while catching more fish than anyone else. Captain Hall was often asked about his uncanny ability to stay out so long without navigational equipment. He'd once been gone for 2 years, they said, without coming home for a point of reference. Eleazar simply replied, "Oh, I just go up on the deck and I listen to the wind in the rigging. I get the drift of the sea. I look up at the stars and then I set my course." Well, times changed in Bedford. The big insurance companies moved in, so they could no longer insure the ships if the captains didn't have a certified and properly trained navigator on board. They were terrified to tell Eleazar, but to their amazement he said, "If I must, I will go and take the navigational course." Eleazar graduated high in his class, and having greatly missed the sea, he immediately took off for a long voyage. On the day of his return, the whole town turned out to ask him the one big question, "Eleazar, how was it having to navigate with all those charts and equations?" Eleazar sat back and let out a long, low whistle. "Oh," he replied, "it was simple. Whenever I wanted to know my location, I'd go to my cabin, get out my charts and equations, and I would set my course with scientific precision. But then I'd go up on the deck, and I'd listen to the wind in the rigging. I'd get the drift of the sea. I'd look at the stars, and I'd go back and correct the errors I'd made in computation." Now, isn't that what we all want? We want to go up on the deck, to hear God's quiet voice in our heart, consider His eternal word, the Bible, and then go back down below and make adjustments to all those fine, logical, scientific plans we've drawn up in our heads. Here's how the Bible puts it in Proverbs 3, verse 6. "Trust God from the bottom of your heart. Don't try to figure out everything on your own. Listen for God's voice in everything you do, everywhere you go. He's the one who will keep you on track." Now, the word listen contains the same letters as the word silent, observed Alfred Brendel, the Austrian pianist. It was in a still, small voice that God whispered to Elijah. And so the hymn writer wrote, "Speak through the earthquake, wind and fire, O still, small voice and calm." "Be still and know that I am God," urges the Almighty, and in the secret of His presence, we are disposed to pray like Samuel, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Do you remember your mother ever saying, "Are you listening?" She knew your hearing was fine, but wondered if you were paying attention to what was being said. Are you listening? Are you listening, our Heavenly Father may ask. There's a story in the Bible about a man, lame from birth, who was being carried to the temple gate each day so that he could beg. And when he saw the disciples, Peter and John, he asked them for money. Peter and John looked at him intently, and Peter said, "Look at us." In other words, eye contact, please. I'm going to say something very important that you need to be sure you're listening to. And the lame man looked at them eagerly, expecting some money. But Peter said, I don't have any silver or gold for you, but I'll give you what I have. In the name of Jesus Christ the Nazarene, get up and walk. And he did. Peter wanted to be sure that he had the man's full attention before performing a miracle. Look at us. Are you listening? So, let us listen for God's voice today. Really listen. Go up on the deck and listen to the wind and the rigging. And get the drift of the sea. Look at the stars and go back and correct the errors we may have made in computation. And thank you once again for tuning in to Village Church Connections.
Thanks for joining us here on Shell Point today. On tomorrow's show, Terry Kolath will visit with Renee Maxwell to talk about an academy class next week on the game of Mahjong. Plus, we'll bring you other informative stories and information about this fabulous place where you live. I'm Dan Philgreen for Shell Point Today for Wednesday, June 1st, and we'll see you again right here tomorrow.